No music, no sound effects, no frills, just three guys talking Bobcats. I'm Keff Ciardello. I'm here with Mike Orakpo and a guest, Shaun Rutherford,
The
joining us on
man.
the podcast. The man. He played in the original UTSA game, so we had to bring him on for UTSA week. Shaun, how you feeling today?
Man, I'm good. I'm pumped up for the game this weekend. I appreciate y'all finally bringing me on the show. It's been a minute.
Absolutely. And you're the only one of us with some Texas State gear on, so good for you.
I got a rep.
Always repping, man.
Mike,
yeah, what up?
We got UTSA this week. How on a scale of 1 to 10, how hyped up are you for this?
20.
Week? 20. Wow.
20, man. This is the year. All right. 20. Look, all right. The way 2020 been going, we need this dub this year. This is gonna be the year. This is the year we send them boys home with a fat old L. All right. So I'm just letting everybody listening to this. If you're logged on and you're listening to the podcast, just know that when we get back on here next week, I'm gonna tell all y'all, I told you so. Because we're gonna get that dub. We're gonna get that dub tomorrow.
It's big words from a big man there. I'm excited, but I don't know if I'm just beaten down by all the years, but I'm so nervous too. Like I was more anxious last week for the game. Yeah. This week I'm so nervous because I do not want to hear any more words from the Roadrunners about how they're up on us, and I'm done with it. My brother is a UTSA grad. He never pays attention to football until this game comes on. So
that's it. That's all he cares
really want to
about.
rub it in his face. I need that one. Shaun, what do you how confident are you for this one? Obviously Mike's way confident, giving it a 20. How are you feeling?
Man, I gotta match his energy, man. I wanna say him saying he's at a 20, it's gotta be higher than that, because the way he acted with us watching the game last week, what was it? What were you at last week, right?
Woo! I was lit. I don't even know I can't put a number on that. I can't put a number
Let me ask you this from those videos. What does let him hang mean? Come on, I was like, let him hang.
Hey, we're probably gonna have some kids that kind of that sprinkles onto these podcasts. So let's keep that off air. For the people that know the saying, we're just gonna say what's understood does not need to be explained.
Fair enough.
You know.
If you're old enough to get it, then you get it, and you don't need to explain. Yeah, you were definitely fired up, and was seeing them last week and perform so well against SMU. Is that why you're both so fired up this week, and why you think that this year's different than years past?
Y'all let Shaun take that.
Take it, Shaun.
Most definitely. I mean, I expected them to come out and be a solid football team this year, but they kind of exceeded my expectations of kind of what I thought they would be. Playing like that against a solid SMU team just makes me even more excited to see, how they build throughout the year. So, I'm overly excited now.
Yeah, man, I'm the same way. I think we proved that we can play some football through game one. If we would have lost that game by 20 points, I don't think a lot of people would have been panicking, to be honest, because that's a good SMU football team. But the fact that we were able to, not only come out in the lead early part of that game, but we wasn't receiving any blows, the whole game. I always look at, we were literally throwing the blows to them. We was giving it to them. They would respond sometimes, and then we would respond right back. So I got word from some people that sent it over to me, but we were the most viewed college football game that week. I think it was 1.2 million viewers. We had some more viewers than some of the NBA playoff games that was going on. That's huge for a brand that like Texas State that's consistently trying to build itself, just showing the whole world really that we can play some football.
Absolutely. And on top of the 1.2 million, I talked to my buddy who lives in Georgia, and he works for a sports betting company, and he said that was the most bet on game of the day on Saturday was Texas State SMU. So I mean, people had eyes on it all over. And speaking of those lines and gambling, Texas State actually opens up as the favorite. Last I saw someone tweet it's up to 9 points for Texas State. They're projected. Early on this week, it was like 6.5, 7. And I'm not used to that. I'm especially not recently. And so, I mean, do you think that the rest of the world kind of has the rest of the sports world kind of starting to catch on to what Texas State is doing?
Well, I think that we have a lot to lose, actually, being the favorites, because now, people are starting to give us a little bit of credit. They're starting to give us some props, like this is an improved team. And one thing that we have to be very, very cautious of is, drinking our own Kool-Aid a little bit too much. We still 0-1. We didn't beat SMU. It was a close game, but and I don't want to be a negative Nancy, but what I'm saying is just I hope that our team is very focused, okay? Because you don't want to start listening to the media. We're media right now, but you don't want to start listening to the people that are saying that you guys played so well and you're improved and you're 9-point favorites coming into the game, and you start thinking like, hey man, we're good. We gonna win the Sun Belt, and it's good to think that, but you still have to play with that chip on your shoulder. If we lose that chip on our shoulder, we're gonna come out and realize these UTSA boys ain't just gonna lay down because we played a good game against SMU. So we have to be very cautious of that and still, go in with that chip.
Can't get too relaxed and underestimate the opponent.
Absolutely.
Especially with a big one like this. Shaun, I kind of want to ask you about Brady McBride and how you thought he looked last week. I know Rak and I talked about it on the last episode, and we liked what we saw, but Rak had some really great points about him throwing off his back foot and some mechanics he needs to clean up. You being a former quarterback, actually not former. You're a quarterback for the rest of your days, as far as I'm concerned.
That is facts. He's my quarterback for the rest of the life, too, no matter how old we get.
Give me the scouting report on Brady's performance last week. What were your thoughts on that?
I think Brady played very well. I told Rak before the game even started, I was like, hey, I think he's going to be super anxious. I think I talked to Brady. It was either Thursday or Friday before the game. I just wanted to give him a little bit of talk. Hey, good luck. Welcome back to playing or whatever. But I told Rak, I was like, man, I think he's going to be overly excited coming out. And then as I'm on Twitter watching the game, I see people like, oh, he's not who we thought. I'm like, you got to get a kid some time. Like, it's his first D1 game back in, 1 or 2 years. Like, once he gets those jitters out, it feels like he has to really prove himself. He's gonna be a really good talent for Texas State, especially being able to play under Coach Spav. I don't know many quarterbacks that don't want to play for him, but only thing that kind of concerns me with him is that I think Rak called it playground ball or backyard ball. The east to west. I mean, he looked good doing it, but the more people start to scout you, the more they're gonna start defending on that. So he's got to stay in the pocket a little bit more. I kind of want to say him throwing off his back foot is kind of his mechanics, but he's going to have to eventually get out of that. But, I mean, if I had to give him a grade, I'd probably give him probably a B+ for the SMU game.
Shaun, when you're a quarterback, obviously you're a quarterback training. By the way, if you are in, the Austin area or, a part near the Austin area, Shaun is a very good quarterback trainer, and because you not only played the position, you trained the position, and you studied the position. So for somebody who is a younger quarterback, because Brady's still technically a younger quarterback, what are some of the things that he will need to watch out, for, based off of game one as he's going into, the progression of the regular season? What would you say, let's say you was his coach and you were watching his film, what would you say all right, this is what we need to work on. This is what we need to fix. What advice would you give to him?
Old school saying has always been live to play another down. So kind of the whole running in circles kind of deal. I would want him see him be more patient. I know you gave the O-line the MVP last week for the game. O-line played extremely well. Yeah. They maintained the pocket for Brady. And I think some of those times he could have stayed in the pocket a little bit longer and delivered the ball. But I mean, I don't want to make it seem like he didn't play a good game when he did, but just nitpicking on some things that he did do, like escaping the pocket early, throwing back across your body. It's bad, but it's starting to become a natural thing, like with the way people are training the game now. But instead of trying to extend plays as much, take off and run. He's got speed. Like we've known for him to be able to run and get downfield. Tuck that ball, go get us 10, 15 while you can. Sometimes it doesn't hurt to throw the ball away to live to see that next down. But yeah, I just like to see him stay in the pocket a little bit more. I know East and West is his game, but be a little bit patient. After a while, your O-line isn't going to they're going to get tired having to chase and block. They're doing their job sitting in the pocket for you. Just sit back and let it fly. You got an arm too.
Right. And I'm going to follow back up. I know Kev is going to get in here eventually, but I'm going to follow back up on that. I know Coach Spav has talked about Brady, because you just mentioned it. Coach Spav have talked about Brady being an East and West quarterback, and we can only think of the other East and West quarterback that Coach Spav has coached, which was Johnny Manziel at Texas A&M. So, do you see that playing in our favor? What are some pros of Brady being an East and West quarterback, and also, just to be on the more positive side, what are some, good things that you also saw out of him coming out of game one last week?
So I'll kind of go back a little bit to the practice that I went to. Got into a little scuffle with a corner. I have not seen that out of any quarterback from Texas State. I think I might have been the only quarterback from 13 to now that would have did something like that. So just seeing that grit in Brady, like, I love it. Like he's one of those guys that's gonna fire the team up. He's gonna pick them up, get them rowdy, and you need somebody like that on the offense side of the ball, because defense you're gonna have your dogs, but him having that fire underneath him, I love that about his game. And then just letting bad plays go. Once he threw that pick, you couldn't even tell he threw that pick. He came back and played a hell of a game the rest of that game. Like, it was like, all right, I threw the pick. Let's bounce back. Let's get rolling. But also when I saw him at practice, he does a really good job at extending plays. But I feel like down the road when you play a solid defense, they're going to start to catch on to that. And then, it can kind of go either way. But, him getting out of the pocket, at times it kind of reminds me of Aaron Rodgers. Because, Aaron Rodgers is one of the best, him and Russell Wilson, at extending plays. But I think that's good. We got some receivers that can take the top off. So by Brady buying time, he can escape, let them take off, roll with him, drop it in for an easy touchdown.
Johnny Manziel, Aaron Rodgers, all these comparisons make me really
right.
I'm not going to lie. No,
you got to live up to it, man. That's all. As long as we're getting some wins, goodness.
He's getting hyped up enough, that's for sure. Shaun, what you said about his confidence and how he's able to just forget the last mess up and move on to the next play is something I really noticed as well. Even in the post-game press conference, he just exudes confidence. And that's I feel like, an important trait at that position as that leader at the quarterback spot. He's unflappable, it seems like. It doesn't seem like anyone's going to talk some trash and get in his head or anything. He's got a ton of confidence. Definitely some mechanic stuff to clean up, but I think the future's pretty bright with him, it seems. And obviously y'all agree with those comparisons.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Bobcats are in good hands, it seems. Other aspects of the offense too look great. The running game. What a nice treat that is to be a quarterback in your first game back after a few years. You've got some strong running backs. What did you think of that running game, Shaun, when you saw Brock Sturgis and Calvin Hill?
Calvin Hill, yeah.
Man, they both played a great game. What's that? The first time in a while that we've probably gonna have we might have 2,000-yard running backs. The way it's looking. But as a quarterback, that just takes so much pressure off you to know that you can hand the ball to your running back and he goes and pounds it, gets you 5-6 yards, and that eventually loads up the box. So it makes it easier for you to throw the ball. So instead of them having the nickel or dime package out and got 7 to 8 DBs out there, now you got to play with 5, maybe even 4 DBs to try to get some more pressure in the box. So, I was very pleased with the running game that we had.
Yeah, sorry, I keep going in and out on mute. They're mowing the lawn right next to me where I'm
Oh,
doing this. Sorry, I keep
gotcha.
checking in and out on you
House
guys.
clean.
But yeah. But a little bit on UTSA this week. I mean, they've got a new coach in Jeff Traylor, and talking with the coaches this week, they think they're going to spread it out more offensively. Like they're going to have the receivers out all wide. Rak, what do you think the defense needs to do kind of differently this week to kind of face that spread instead of that 2 running back offense we saw from them last year?
Well, we're going to have to be able to definitely get pressure on that quarterback. I think we were very stout up front last game, but I noticed that when we went 3 down and we didn't bring that 4th rusher, that quarterback had some time in the pocket. Normally, the way that we were going on defense was we would have 3 down, and that extra linebacker was being inserted into the rush game. And what that was doing is it was allowing us to get pressure on the quarterback, and then he was getting the ball out of his hands a lot quicker. Now, when we went speed on the field, the time when we essentially only rushed 3 and we dropped that 4th linebacker into coverage, I noticed that we wasn't able to have too much success on the rushing and getting to the quarterback. So if we're going to change that this week, I will say the main thing that we need to make sure we have down is if we're going to rush with 4, we have to make sure that we have the correct personnel on the squad to know that, number one, when you bring in 4, we got to get there quick. If you're only going with 3 down linemen, there has to be some kind of stunts or games coming. We was doing some great games last week. I was paying attention. We was bringing the end in, looping the D tackle out to the edge. So we was running some good games. But one thing I noticed is when it was only 3 down linemen sometimes, our rush wasn't there. And I get it. It's 3 against 5. So it's going to be hard for us to get there. So I would say definitely look for us to be creative on where that 4th guy is coming from. If we get that down and we're able to consistently put pressure on the quarterback, then it's going to allow the DBs to not hang out in the dry, having to cover all day. On mute.
Oh, there we go. I'm off. UTSA, they don't have a set quarterback right now. It could be Lowell Norris or Narcisse. It could be Frank Harris. It could be Jordan Weeks. How difficult is that, in your opinion, to game plan for an offense where you don't know who's going to be under center? Or does it matter at all? Can you just kind of execute your plan and still do well?
Well, when I was a player, and I used to tell our defensive coaches all the time, I played for a lot of different defensive coordinators, being that I played for 2 different schools. But the main thing that I used to tell our D coordinators was like, don't outcoach ourselves. Let's make sure we if we're delivering the blows, the offense is responding to what we're doing defensively. I remember when we had Coach Nivar, and it was so many different linebackers. You had me, you had Mayo, you had Damien, Jeter was coming in, and it was a situation as to where they didn't know where we was coming from. We were the one like delivering the blow. We was the one coming and putting pressure on the quarterback. The quarterbacks and the offense had to respond to us. If we sit there and we allow us to be reactive to what they're doing, then sometimes they're able to dictate whatever they want to do. You see what I'm saying? So regardless of whatever quarterback it is, if we come out with a plan on, okay, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to attack on our base defense, on our rushes, then it really won't matter who it is. If we're doing what we're doing very well, then we should be able to have some success.
Definitely. And they should have some more pieces on defense this week as well. It seemed like Patton's probably going to come back, make his season debut this year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then Jacquel Pierce went down last week, but it looked like he was back in practice. Yeah. Same with Sione Tupou. So they might be at full force on defense outside of Cam Winters, who's out for the year. So
and then Sturgis will be out half, but we should get him back on the second half, correct?
Mm-hmm. Braden
Stringer. Yeah.
I'm glad you brought him up. Yeah, because I'm glad you brought him up because I kind of forgot about that. Yeah, he's definitely out the first half of this week.
Right.
That's kind of a big blow. He played a lot for them last week.
He played well too, man. I like him. I like Stringer. Played well. Yeah.
This week they have a lot of Kenny Haynes, he's a younger guy, kind of smaller guy, out there at linebacker instead of Stringer. And so I think they'd much rather have the experience and all that stuff that Stringer brings to them on defense. So,
Right.
but they'll have some guys. I mean, I haven't heard anything about COVID testing or anything like that for them if they have any guys out. I know UTSA, they announced that they have 8 players that aren't going to make it. They didn't say starters or what kind, but contact tracing. So 8 more
Right.
going down for them. And we know Texas State had to deal with that last year.
Right.
I mean, what a new wrinkle to this season to deal with. It's almost like dealing with an injury. I mean, to deal with it the same way. Shaun, were you at the game at all last week, or were you able to kind of get some eyes on Texas State's defense at all, or are you just seeing it from at home?
So I went to Rack's house. We watched it over there.
Oh yeah, the videos. Forgot about that.
Yeah, I mean, to be completely honest, I watched a little bit just to see. But even when our defense on the field, I kind of like to watch the other offense, kind of see what they're doing. So,
man, typical offense guy. Typical. Only wants to know what the offense is doing. They're offense guys. They don't got a clue what's going on their defense side of the ball. They just
come on now.
Shaun went. He took a restroom break and went and got some more drink. Shaun, me and Shaun have something in common. We be on that brown. We be on that.
Hey, you know it.
We go like Uncle Shay Shay.
We saw the Red Solo Cup. Are you filling it up with Hennessy? That's your drink of choice.
That's my Hennessy or that Remy Ma.
Oh,
Remy Ma, man.
Getting a little classy there.
Yeah, little class.
I have an unrefined palate, so I'm more of a beer man myself. But I can appreciate the nice liquor.
Absolutely.
You put some liquor in me, I get a little too wild. So I gotta tone it down, dilute it with some beer. No, because I got some offensive questions for you. What do you think? They have UTSA has a new defense coordinator. Tyrone Nix is his name. Came over from Ole Miss, I believe. And he runs more of a 3-4 base defense. I know they're moving some of their good DNs out to outside linebacker. Shaun, what would be your approach if you were drawing up the game plan going against kind of like that 3-4 base defense? What do you think the offense should do against the Roadrunners this week?
I mean, the way we ran the ball last week and the way the offensive line got the push, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we came out and tried to run the ball until we couldn't anymore. So to make them kind of come out of it or make them stop the run. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if, one running back got 20 carries, the other one got anywhere from 10 to 15. I can see both of them probably putting up 100 yards again. So I would ground and pound. I know with Spav he wants to spin the ball, but I think he'll keep it pretty balanced as he did last week.
I'm surprised to hear the quarterback say that. Run the ball, but you'd like to run it yourself too when you were under center. So maybe McBride can do a good Shaun Rutherford impression and burn up some yards on the ground.
There we go.
How about y'all take me back a little bit? Let's go back to way back to 2012.
2012. Okay.
2012. I was a mere intern for Bobcat Report. I wasn't nearly as involved, but I definitely was watching. In fact, that UTSA game, I wasn't even in the press box. I was in my brother, as I said, went to UTSA, so I was in their student section. Only Bobcat in there. It was awful. It was, I was talking lots of trash, and then all of a sudden, things went south, and it wasn't good for me. But let's go back to that day. The inaugural game. Shaun, you started at quarterback there. What was that atmosphere like in the Alamo Dome that day, and everything leading up to that first game that kind of started off this whole IH-35 rivalry?
Just from us getting off the bus that whole game, it's just the atmosphere was rowdy. I think we pulled up to at least a few thousand fans in the parking lot, just kind of yelling and going on. And then normally in games, the fans aren't really there until kind of closer to the game. You had UTSA fans there from the time. I think our specialists went out. So, that atmosphere, I think we almost filled up the Alamo Dome that year as well. But, great atmosphere. I mean, we came up short. I think 38-31
Yep.
Yeah.
was the score. I mean, I don't,
Yeah.
something like that. But I mean, it was a great atmosphere. I wish we would have grabbed that dub, but I mean, it is what it is.
I didn't get to play UTSA. You know, I was pissed that game because I'll be real, our defense played horrible, and watching that game, like, man, I just knew that, like, if there was one thing that I was going to do on our team, and I was talking to Coach Navar, I was talking to Coach Brad, Fran at that time, and I was just telling them, I don't care. If there's one thing that we're going to do on defense, we are going to rush the passer better, and we are going to get off of the field on third down. Like, that was what we would it's like third and whatever, and then we couldn't get off the field on third down. So, but no, I never got a chance to play UTSA, but that was my redshirt year when I transferred in. That was the year that you guys played UTSA, Shaun. And I remember my very first game that I came into was the U of H game. I think I just enrolled, like, I barely made enrollment. I enrolled like a day before. It was a Friday. It was my first day on the Texas State campus, and I went and I drove down and went to the U of H game that year, and that game was crazy. Shaun was a quarterback, and that game was crazy. But what I was gonna tell people is this story. So, let me tell you, and I don't know if you remember this, but let me tell you how me and Shaun met. So, first of all, this dude ain't used to say nothing to me. Like, we didn't say anything to each other in the locker room. And I remember like it was yesterday. Every time I walked in the locker, I have to pass Shaun's locker up every single day. And he's always there. I think quarterbacks are first, whatever it is. Shaun's always there by his his locker, getting ready. And I'm walking past, and I'm new at this time, Keff. I know no one. Thomas Luna was the only person I knew, because we was both from Houston, and I knew me and Luna had a mutual friend, but I didn't know nobody on the football team. So I walked past Shaun, and every day that whole year, we were just like, just what up, bro? We just giving each other nods like the whole year. It wasn't saying much or anything, just like, what's up? But it was like a mutual respect. You know what I'm saying? I respected him because I respected him in his game. And, I felt like he respected me because on scout team that year, our job was to get these guys ready every single game.
Y'all was loaded on scout team too, bro.
Tell them about scout team, though. We was fighting. We used to fight the starting. So our scout team had me, Dallas McClarty, Aaron Matthews,
DJ Yendry.
DJ Yendry was a transfer. We end up having at least 6 starters. Damani Alexi, he had 6 starters off on our scout team that year that just started the next year, and we all was on scout. So when we was getting these guys ready, they were facing us. So sometimes the scout team is fighting the starting offense during game week on practice field. That's how intense our practices were. Wow. And it was crazy. But go ahead.
That's a stacked team, that scout team.
Yeah.
But I mean, you brought up the Houston game. We can talk about that one because I know people want to hear about it. I want to hear about that Houston game, Shaun. And I mean, I know you said that was your first game you saw, Mike. That was probably like, you were like, oh, I made the right choice here.
Absolutely.
I mean, what a fun game that was. I think it was Curry had 4 touchdowns with the running back. Is it right? Marcus Curry? I think I have his name right there.
Yeah, Marcus Curry.
Marcus Curry, yeah.
Talk to us about that game more than the UTSA one, that Houston game. What was that whole thing like? Or you guys just you took everyone by surprise? Pretty sure they were 24-point favorites that game. The whole deal. Like what was that like beating Houston?
Man, that was probably, other than the La Tech game, the U of H game was probably my favorite game at Texas State. But the atmosphere, that one was just nuts. Coach Fran constantly reminded us that we were 24 or 27-point underdogs, either one. But he constantly reminded us of that. And then he surprised us before that game. I don't know if you remember, but we had those awful uniforms, 2011. And 2012, we come back in from warm-ups, and we have those brand new all-white units laying out at our stations for us. So that kind of pumped everybody up a little bit more. But that whole game was just insane. I think we were clicking on all cylinders. Defense, I want to say, had like 3 turnovers. We constantly put points up on the board. Marcus Curry had a hell of a game that game. But, I mean, that was an awesome game.
Absolutely. I can remember that one, and I thought for sure the next decade of Tech State football was going to be nothing but wins, but here we are. You know what? Tell me about Rak on scout team. I never would have thought Mike Orakpo would have been on a scout team. Was he was he every bit the nasty linebacker he was as a starter, or what was he like out there?
Oh, it was 100%. I mean, we laugh and joke now because we always tell people if I would have had that 2013 defense in 2012, or if he would have had me in 2013, we probably would have lost a total of 3 games. Both of those years together. But I mean, like he said, that scout team defense was stacked. Him, Dallas, DJ, Cheeto, Damani. I mean, it was just, I mean, we got a great look every day. And then, I mean, Rak they had to tell him to slow down because he was literally come blitz and almost give each one of our offensive linemen concussions. So he was nonstop, full speed, had a motor. But I'm sitting here asking questions like, why are these dudes not playing right now? But NCAA loves to not give Texas State those waivers when we need them.
Boy, do we know that. We know that again this year with Jeter, Waydell Jones, and Silas Robinson. I haven't heard anything.
What's the update? Yeah, I'm sure our listeners want to know the updates on those guys. What's the update?
You know, Jeter and Robinson have been denied, according to Spav. He's officially said that one. Haven't heard anything on Waydell Jones, but I imagine he's the same situation because he got in here after those other 2. So if they're denying those first 2, not a good chance that they'll accept the waiver for Waydell Jones. But back to what you were talking about, Shaun, on scout team. Did you ever have to fight Rak? Did you guys ever square off? How'd that work out?
No, I don't think it ever had to get to that point. That black jersey saved me. So I mean, if he would have touched me, probably would have caught a football in the back of the helmet.
No Brady McBride situation was starting fights at practice for you.
Yeah.
No, that was the thing. I think a lot of people had. I don't want to say they don't respect Brady, but I feel like a lot of people in my instance had too much respect for that.
Sure. And, and when we were talking about the McBride situation, that was with a freshman too. And so, he probably just didn't know any better. Zion Childress, Zion ended up being a starter. So, could see why he had
camp.
Go ahead.
Fall camp will do that to you. Once you get to seeing the same people 3-4 times a day, it gets like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're just over them and you're ready to start fighting. Well, this UTSA series, it has yet to go in the Bobcats' favor. But, and even though they're not in conference, it's still considered a rivalry. And I know, like, there was a coaching staff before who said it wasn't much of a rivalry. And now you have Spav this week who's really hammering it home that it is one. That it is a rivalry. You guys, obviously, it seems like you agree. This is a rivalry, and this matters, obviously, to y'all as former players too, yeah?
Yeah, most definitely.
No coach is going to be able to come into the program and call something not a rivalry, It's very clear, all right? And I've been a part of a rivalry that's went on for a long time. And the way we go at it with those guys down 35 is clear. All right. You have Texas State hate week going on over there, and then over here you have UTSA hate week going on this side. All right. If there's one screenshot that we've seen posted 50 different times this year, it's the screenshot of those guys beating us 3 times in a row. All right. So I just want to be able to tell somebody the phrase, "What have you done for me lately?" After tomorrow. That's just what I want to be able to tell them, because it's time to get a W on the column for us and tell their ass calm it down for a little bit. Recruiting is on the line as well. Like I told Kev, we're going to be in those same high schools with those guys. We're going to be in the same, at the same games, and we're going to be in the same living room. All right. And right now, they always can be the person that was just like, hey, we beat you guys the last time, So we're looking to change that, and I'm excited. We will be at the game. So.
I'm glad you brought up recruiting, because the recruiting implications for this game are massive, honestly, because if you look at UTSA, they have so many players that Texas State tried to recruit that didn't end up here. Like, I was reading about them this morning, and I was reading quotes from Leroy Watson, their tight end. That was a player who was committed here for months, and then he flipped to UTSA. And I was reading about another player, Kevin Davis, their starting center, who's actually out. He's hurt. But that was a guy who was committed to Texas State. And all their running backs, Sincere McCormick, all these players, Texas State tried so hard to go after, and they ended up choosing UTSA. And you have to think, when they're comparing the two schools, like, okay, I've got Texas State offering me, I've got UTSA offering me. And if it's a toss-up to them, and they look at that series record, 3-0, I mean, who wouldn't lean UTSA if you were an unbiased recruit?
Right.
I mean, who wouldn't look at that and go for that? So if the Bobcats can flip it and start to get things in their favor, and like you said, what have you done for me lately? Start to have that argument in their favor, because UTSA, you can already envision their argument that they're going to say, "Oh yeah, you won this one, but we won the other."
Yeah, you can always. We know it's coming. It's coming.
We know it's coming. I'm already hearing it from my brother. He's already preparing himself.
He's already preparing it.
He's already preparing himself, because everybody saw how good they looked on TV.
Right.
But and I already got mine. What have you done for me lately? Like you just said, Rak, and that's what I'm prepared to say. And I know that's what recruits will look at, because recruits aren't going to care about what happened in 2017 or 2012 or 2018.
Exactly.
They're worried about
different
now.
Coaches, different programs, and where they ain't. Hey man, what have you done for me lately? What have you done? Yeah. So, Shaun, I have a question for you regarding this UTSA. So, if you were, let's say, one of your, because you coach a lot of, D1 prospects, by the way, for our people that don't know. So, one of your prospects, all right, one of your prospects is they've pulled you to the side. Hey, coach, I got an offer from, Texas State, and my other offer is UTSA right now. I know where you're gonna go, but my question
for the audio listeners, he leaned in.
This is really this is for real now, because they, you're gonna have time to sell the school right now. So the question is, which school would you pick? I think I know the answer to that, but the big question is why? Why would you pick, Texas State over UTSA? Floor is yours.
It's crazy, because I've had that question asked to me already. But it's hard to explain it to them sometimes, just for the fact that I've been through it, and it's always that thing. Oh, you can just tell me that, like, it might not be the same for me, this and that, blah blah. But I mean, it sounds so cliche, but Texas State is actually starting to turn into that Division I program. Like, we have a great coaches that care about you. And what I always tell my guys is, ask people who used to play for a coach how they feel about him. If you have former players that speak very highly of a coach, that's somebody that you want to play for. If you have 10 people and 3 of those people are like, he was kind of, that's not a person. There's not many people that I've talked to, well, there's not anybody that I've talked to that has had anything bad to say about Spav. Spav is for this new generation, this new culture of people. He's got young, highly motivated coaches who are all about the same thing, culture, getting your four-year degree, all those different types of things. I mean, UTSA is UTSA. Y'all understand where I'm coming at. But I mean, to me, Texas State is just Texas State. I can't really explain it to them any other way. But we're up and coming Division I program. We're here. We're not going nowhere no time soon.
Okay, so Shaun gave y'all the PC answer, and it's cool. It's cool. So I let me go in a little bit. All right. So Number
I was
one.
gonna ask for the Rak version, so I'm glad you're just offering
Sorry,
it.
Kev. I don't mean to. I should have. But let me go in. All right. So UTSA. Okay. It's a satellite directional school. All right. So that means that UT is always going to be under the umbrella of the University of Texas. What does that mean for that program? You guys will always take a back seat to the people who own you. You know, they own your school system. It's under the UT school system. So you can only go as far. You know, some of the funding that comes to UTSA is funded through UT system. Texas State owns its own system. So we control our own destiny of how big our brand will get. We know one thing, that UTSA is never going to pass up any of the people that is over their school system. And that's just the facts. Number two, no one goes to San Antonio. Like, I love San Antonio. I'm serious. Like, San Antonio has good, they got good recruits. It's a good city. You know, you got the Spurs and stuff like that. But I mean, come on, you have the Riverwalk, but is there anything outside of that? Give me a break. Like, everyone is in San Marcos. If you're in San Marcos, you got people coming from Austin. You got people coming from San Antonio. You got people coming from College Station. You got people coming from all different schools. They come to, Shaun, am I lying? They come to
100%.
our school. They come to our city. There's more to it than one thing you want to look at is, number one, you want to look at the football program, but you also want to look at education. You want to look at schools, like the schools and the brand and just the school life, right? It's just more to it than just, here and here. And if you're looking at it from a football program, I think that this year is going to give us time to solidify ourselves as being, a better football program than that. And the last thing I'm going to say is, our stadium is called Bobcat Stadium. I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? Like, we own our stadium, you know what I'm saying? We ain't renting, you know what I'm saying? It's just, we the owners of our stadium. We ain't got to rent. When we want reservations, we can just go and do them on the stadium, We ain't got to share rent and, ask for permission, I'm just saying, but what you think, Kev?
All excellent points. Oh, I agree with you. I agree with you. All of those points. I'm like, what, San Antonio over San Marcos? No way. You can't even swim in the Riverwalk. We've got a river that you can float on.
They did a poll of the best college town, and they did a poll, and I think we had thousands and thousands and thousands of people, over like 15, 20,000 votes, right? And out of all these big schools all over the country, guess who was in the finals of that poll? I'm just gonna say, out of those 4 schools that was in the finals, it wasn't UTSA. All right, there is a reason of why it wasn't. And that's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say.
And if Texas State can flip the script on the football field, then
it's over.
It's going to open things wide open for recruiting and a whole lot of other different aspects.
Absolutely.
It's funny you brought up the university system with Texas UTSA being under the Texas umbrella.
Right.
That actually started. I heard this story, and it's a nice little anecdote, kind of off topic, but back in around 1999, year 2000, Southwest Texas State wanted to change its name to Texas State. But there was one school that was holding them back in the state, and that was UT, because they thought that the name Texas State was too close to a copyright of their name, University Texas, and they didn't want it to take away from their establishment. And so it took a few years, but how Texas State ended up circumventing that and going around all of that is they created their own Texas State University system.
Right.
And that's when they brought in Lamar and Sul Ross and a few other schools that are in the Texas State University system, because the law was if you have your own university system, then it could be Texas State - San Marcos.
Right.
And that's why it was Texas State - San Marcos till like 2013.
Then we finally changed. Yep.
Yep, and they changed it because what they were when they signed it in, they kind of knew that Sewell Ross and Lamar wouldn't do it, but those schools had the option to then become Texas State Lamar, Texas State Sewell Ross.
Right.
But they didn't want to do that, so they didn't use the hyphen. So after 10 years of Texas State having the hyphen, they were allowed to drop the San Marcos part, thus becoming Texas State, and thus making a very powerful enemy in UT. Apparently, they're still a little mad about that whole situation. So not only is Texas State not under UT's umbrella, but we've kind of shook our fist up at them and did our own thing. Here we are. Texas State Bobcats going down their own path. Little off-topic story there, but that popped in my head when you brought up the great point that they are in their own system, not under someone else's umbrella. And so how far they can take it is up to Texas State. And winning will do a lot more. They've done everything but win as far as I'm concerned with all of it. And so if they can have it all and these guys can really get that going, I really think that this is a giant. But we'll see how it all goes down.
Nice.
You know, we didn't do the questions this time. We didn't do Ask Fifth Quarter because we got Shaun here and we wanted to talk a lot with him.
Right.
But before I forget about it, there was one question that we didn't answer last week from Andrew Zimmel. And it's kind of a good one that I kind of wanted to throw.
We got Shaun on the call,
Shaun. And it's a QB one. It's kind of here, I'll go ahead and read it. This is from Andrew Zimmel last week. We missed him. It's at Andrew-Zimmel if you want to follow him on Twitter. Does Mike prefer to play with a QB like Brady, big throws, exciting, a little wild, or a more conservative QB? And we'll extend that to Shaun too. Is that his preference or what he would prefer? But you go ahead and take the reins on that one, Mike.
Yeah. I'm me personally. I like conservative quarterbacks, and when I do say conservative, I just mean not necessarily conservative in the play, but you don't need to hit a home run every time just because of how confident I am on whichever defense that I'm on. You know, that's just my confidence in myself. You know, we don't need you to be Superman. We just need you to go out there and run the offense. So me, I'm never gonna need that quarterback that needs to run around and zip around here and throw up. Like, no, like, bro, if it don't work out, we gonna get you the ball back. Just make sure you score the next time. You know what I'm saying? So I would always go with, to answer his question, I personally would go with more of a conservative game manager quarterback that's going to get the ball where it needs to be and have that offense being efficient and very consistent. That would be my answer on that.
Spoken like a true linebacker on that one. give me what I expect. That's what you want. You don't want any of that. You don't want to have to check run it or any of that.
Oh, man.
What about you, Shaun? What do you prefer? What's your preference?
I mean, kind of the same thing that Rak said in a sense. Give me that more conservative guy that's going to take what they give them. Don't try to force too many things, get turnovers. But I mean, you do want that guy that's exciting at the same time that can get outside of the pocket, extend plays, take off running when he needs to. If it's 3rd and 5, if something's not there, I want to be able to trust you that you can use your legs and go get that first down instead of pulling the Tom Brady and falling down when the sack is coming. So, I mean, I kind of in between there, a conservative end that's going to take a few shots. If that shot is there, you got one-on-one, take it, let it fly.
You know, Andrew didn't ask me, but I'll give my preference. I like the wild Bronco. I'm the high risk, high reward. I want to see the wild plays going. You know, there's a reason I wasn't much of a player and definitely not a coach. You know, because I know for my own personal enjoyment, I love watching them run around and try and make the dynamic play happen. Even though I know it's not the smartest decision, I still enjoy watching it on my end. But you know,
but I have a question to ask. There was a recent development, and I know we're going extended. This is an extended podcast episode here, but there was they rolled out our new unis. They rolled out new unis. We never talked about that on the podcast. What are y'all thoughts? You know, Shaun, Keff, what are your thoughts on the new uniforms that they got? They rolled out with the ones that we're going to be wearing this tomorrow. You know, the home unis. What do you think about them?
I know for
I'm
me.
salty for the fact that we. Oh, go ahead, Kev.
No, Shaun, you take it. I want your answer.
I was gonna say me. I'm salty just for the fact that we only had 2 combinations with 1 helmet, and now, and now I'm seeing 8 different jerseys. We got matte helmets, this and that. But um, I actually like the unis. I know at first, Rack, when we talked about it last week, I wasn't really a fan, but now the more that I saw them, I like them. And then this whole video production of rolling out the new unis, I love that. The ones that they'll be wearing tomorrow, I like those. So I mean, it's dope. I'm a little jealous, but I like it.
Where were those in 2012, right? No, I love them, and I love the delivery with that video from Andrew Johnson and the equipment people there. They've done a great
Shout
job.
out to the equipment, the entire equipment staff. Andrew, you are the GOAT. I saw your tweet. You a beast, bro. I mean, we gotta keep him home. We gotta keep him here, please. You know what I'm saying? But he's doing a great job. Shout out to him. But go ahead, continue, Kev. My bad.
Absolutely. No, he well-deserved shout out there for Andrew. Might be someone we should bring on the pod sometime,
For
Rak.
real.
We'll think about that.
Yep. Next
He's
week, one of these weeks.
he can give us a sneak preview of the reveal on that one.
Yeah.
No, but these uniforms this week, the gold, maroon, gold. Ah, man, fans have been asking for that for a while. At least a good production of it. And it's like a real gold, not that off like mustard yellow, whatever that was. I mean, it's a clean, timeless look. I feel that they brought out this week, and no better time to do it than the UTSA one. And that video, great quality with Brady McBride. I mean,
Yeah.
they did those videos last year. I know they couldn't do them last week because, interesting enough, they actually didn't get those uniforms until 1 o'clock, and the kickoff was 3:30. So that's why some players had names and some didn't. Apparently, it was the delivery was getting messed up with COVID and all of that. But
Yeah.
they got that's the coaches even were wearing shorts. They weren't even wearing their game pants because of that whole situation. So, which actually some of the coaches said it was comfier, but yeah, this time they've got their uniforms in early and they'll be ready to go before 1 o'clock. But yeah, I'm definitely a big fan of those uniforms and how they came out.
Yeah, man. I like the uniforms. I liked them last week. I know me and Shaun talked about it. He got warmed up to them, but I actually liked them last week, and I like them this week again, especially this week because I finally feel like we have, like you said, kept that classic look. Because every year with Texas State, we somehow, every year or so, I feel like we're just changing our look so much to the point where like we just look different every time we hit the field. And when a new program like us is continuing to build that identity and get into more households, we want to be recognizable. When you think about Texas A&M or UT, the big power schools on opposite sides of us, they have that classic look. They can still roll out different unis, but most big time programs have that classic, like, oh, that's Texas State. That's whatever school. I can see it from a mile away. And I feel like with these unis, especially with the Texas Lone Star with the Bobcat inside, like, yeah, they really went hard on these uniforms. And I feel like that classic look is a definitely 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, brand recognition goes a long way. And if you change it up too much, people aren't going to recognize your brand. And that, I feel like, it's a very Texas State look. The Texas, the Super Cat, as you pointed out on the helmet. I mean, I don't even know. Did y'all see the picture of inside the collar on the back of the shoulder pads? On the inside, it says "Eat 'em up."
Yeah, I didn't even notice. I didn't even see that one.
So many little details with everything. I appreciate that it's so well thought out. Instead of like, let's just slap the colors and the decal on the helmet and away we go. There's thought process to it. And I know uniforms. We go back to recruiting. I can't help it. But I know uniforms play a factor in recruiting because I remember who was it? LeGarrette Blount back in the day when he went to Oregon and he was in the NFL playing for the Patriots, and someone asked him, he had a bunch of offers. What made you choose Oregon back when you were in school? And he said, I loved the answer because he was like, I'm just got to be honest. It was the uniforms. Yeah. I had all these offers, and the fact that they had all these variations of the uniform, I chose Oregon. I mean, I know that kind of blew me away. I was like, really, uniforms? But
yeah,
I guess when it comes down to when you're picking, you have your pick of the lot, it comes down to little things like that. And so, I mean, if Texas State's got a cleaner uniform game than UTSA, who knows, might sway that other recruit that way. So all these little things, that it goes back to recruiting, no doubt.
And fans have to always remember, and I know the fans and the alumni and everybody, it's us, that's watching the game. But always remember that the uniforms are for the players. It ain't for the people, it's for the players. They want to feel comfortable and they want to feel good. And to be honest, when you ask a lot of those younger players or even, the current players, how they feel, they love those uniforms. They love the black uniform. They love the mat and all the different things that they're doing in the equipment room. Those players love those uniforms, and it's having a great impression on the recruits that are coming in, because like you say, it's all about recruiting, man. So while for the people listening to the podcast, you may not love all of the uniforms, but just realize that the recruits do. The players do. Those are the people that they're for, so just always keep that in mind. Always keep that in mind.
That's a really good point to bring up, because fans do forget that. I forget that. Even looking at them, I'm like, oh, this doesn't appease me, so I don't like it. But it's not who it's for. It's for the player. Look good, play good, as the old
Absolutely.
adage.
Big prime.
I know Shaun subscribes to that theory, right? Shaun, look good, play good.
Oh, you got to. Got to.
Were you an armband guy yourself? Would you always wear the armbands and get all swagged out, or what was it like for you?
Look, Coach. No. Coach Fran didn't let us do none of that. Coach, we had one Under Armour that you could wear. If you didn't wear that Under Armour, you couldn't wear no sleeves. Like he had us so basic.
Coach Fran lightened up though. He lightened up after a year, a couple of years. He started. I know they hate on us, But we got Coach Fran to lighten up a little bit, the next after that.
Fran is somebody who I feel like isn't brought up enough. Just because people remember that 2015 season over everything else that happened, including being the coach that was there during the transition from FCS to FBS. I mean, they needed a coach with experience, and he had a lot of that. Maybe you guys can kind of talk about Fran a little bit more and your experiences with him, what he was kind of like playing for and everything like that. I mean, we'll start with Shaun. Shaun, tell me a little bit about Fran and what he meant to you in your career and life.
I mean, Fran was a hard, stern coach. I think as many people talk, like these generations, like I won't say get softer, but in theory get softer. But a lot of the guys didn't like the way that Coach Fran coached, because I mean he was gonna cuss you out, he was gonna push you. I had no problem with Fran. I liked the way he coached. He brought the best out of me. I wish our offense would have been a little bit different, but I liked him. He helped mold me, but many people don't give him enough credit. But when he came to Texas State, just to be honest, we had a lot of guys on the team that shouldn't have been playing FBS ball. So that's why that transition period was so tough. He didn't have the guys that he wanted. So that's why he was bringing all those junior college guys in. I don't think we could have that many transfers back then. So we were trying to get transfers in, the JUCO guys, like bringing guys like Rak and DJ Yendry. But I mean, people got to lighten up, give him more credit. I mean, he was kind of getting past the time of his era of ball, but I mean, Fran was a solid coach.
Yeah, tell us about Fran from your perspective, Rag. What was he like to play for, and just him being in your life in general? What was he like?
Yeah, man. I mean, Fran isn't the most likable guy, and I get it. A lot of people just don't like him that's on the outside of it. But if you meet Coach Fran and you're a team player and you do the right thing and you meet him and you actually get out of the outer surface of him and you learn Coach Fran and you meet him, he's a cool guy. He's really a cool guy. And I'm very, I'm very vocal about we don't appreciate him enough. I think I tweeted it not too long ago that we don't appreciate Coach Fran enough and what he did. And the word got to Coach Fran. It got to Coach Fran, and he sent me a text, and he's just like, telling me, Rak, I appreciate it and things like that, man. I heard what you said about me. So, Coach Fran, to me, my experience with him, I think he's a good guy. I just think he's just not liked by a lot of people. But when Coach Fran was getting all the flack, right, and I was vocal, to a lot of people, and they just said I was biased because I played for him. But I was being real when I was saying it is not easy for a new Division I team to do what he did. It's not. It's a very hard feat. And we're seeing that now because we haven't even gotten close to having 6 wins. And the last best season that we've had was his 2 seasons. It was in 14 and it was in 13. Those are our last 2 best seasons that we had. It was under Coach Fran. Everett Withers, came in and he was saying so many things about do this and do that. And then he realized it was a tougher job than he expected. Now he wants to blame administration and all that. Guess what? You had a better administration than Coach Fran did. Coach, you was in a better situation than Coach Fran. You came with a D1 roster. Coach Fran had to get 50, 60 players off of the roster before he could even get into the point of talking about a bowl game, So people don't just realize what he actually had to do to get to, where we was. So I have my utmost respect for him. I know what it takes for a team to get up to 6 wins because we did it. Team to get to 7 wins because we did it. But at Texas State 5-6 years ago, it was very difficult, and he definitely was able to say that he got some things done and he had our program going in the right direction. Absolutely.
Yeah. And, something about from when he first got to Texas State, when he took over for Brad Wright, he had 4 offensive linemen on the roster total, not 4 starters, 4 total offensive linemen. So when you talk about having to revamp a roster, Fran and those guys really had an uphill battle, and they made the most of it that they could. I know fans wish it could have gone better, but like you said, they haven't seen success since 2014, his second to last season. So, hey, I agree with you. I feel like he's understated a lot when people talk about Texas State and where it is today. I know for me as a personally as a reporter, I mean, I was intern, I was a nobody, and he would come up and give me the time of the day, like a private conversation about like, hey, this is going on with the team and stuff like that. And it really helped me grow in my profession. And he was a great coach to have for me being so green at
Right.
this job. I mean, he was such a nice guy. We'd call him, I know he's yelling at y'all, but he was nice to us. We'd call him Franpa because he was like an old grandpa. He'd come up and just be like, hey, how you doing? Was real polite. So I'm glad you still talk to him, Rak. That's good that you're still in communication with him. I wish I could see him around here from time to time, but I hadn't seen him since 2015 or talked to him. So it's good to hear he's doing all right. Another thing that we hadn't brought up that we should have brought up last time, and I thought about it right as soon as we finished, Aaron Brewer being on the Titans, making the 53-man roster. I don't know if y'all saw that.
Yeah.
But that was
that's big. That's big time.
Big time for Aaron, and I wrote about him this week, and I was doing a little research and how he started at every position on the offensive line except for right guard at some point in his career. Something like 15 games at left tackle, 12 at right tackle, 12 at center. I mean, the guy was the Swiss Army knife for that offensive line over those 4 years. I mean, 47 straight starts for him too. And I mean, you guys know the difficulty it is to break through to the next level. I mean, we saw Brian London and Frankie Griffin. They got their contracts, but didn't quite make that roster. Right. I mean, what an accomplishment. I mean, what can you tell me about what you remember of Aaron Brewer when he was here and what a difficult process that is for him to make that NFL dream?
I'm going to let you handle that one, Rak. I ain't watching
too much Aaron Brewer,
ball back then.
No, so Aaron Brewer was a
lot of losses. I get you, Shaun. No one saw more losses than Aaron Brewer, man.
But no, Aaron Brewer was a great player for us. I thought he was. Me and some of the guys were talking, and I was just like, yeah, I think he has a shot. You know, they was asking me like, hey, you think this guy, you think that guy? But no, Aaron Brewer was definitely one of the ones I was just like, yeah, I think he has a legitimate shot at being able to make the next level. And to be honest, just for people that don't know, when you go in as an undrafted free agent and you're trying to make that roster spot, you are you're like a nobody to them, literally. Like you're literally trying to, every single rep is being watched. You're trying to do every single thing humanly possible to get people's attraction, to understand that you know, you deserve to be on that roster. And what happens a lot of the time is even if you know you are playing very, very well, they don't even have a spot open for you sometimes. You know, they don't, sometimes you're just a camp body. You know, they bring you in and you killed it. You couldn't even did anything better and you still don't make it because sometimes you're just a camp body. And then other times it's just like, oh, well, we can get you to be on the practice squad. You know, so the fact that he was able to make the actual 53-man roster off of an undrafted free agent kind of contract deal, man, is big time. So, you know, kudos to him. Shout out to Aaron Brewer. You know, keep repping Texas State. We appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Absolutely. And you know, and for him to break through and make that Titans roster, they've got some pretty good offensive linemen there. So, I mean, you know, he really had to fight through and beat out some guys. Because that, I mean, that really is a good point about how sometimes it doesn't matter how well you play.
Right.
They just don't have the numbers for you there. And I was looking at it this week with him. It's 1.6% of college football players make it to the NFL. And the fact that part of that 1.6% from this class came out of San Marcos is pretty great. You know, it's something Aaron Brewer is, you know, it's a guy covered from start to finish with his career. It's exciting for me to see him get this opportunity, even if it's for a season or two or whatever. The fact that he's in there and that he got this accomplishment is so big. I know when he was doing his pro day, you know, it was kind of weird with COVID and all of that with their pro days. They kind of had to go off and do their own individual one and with no media and stuff like that. There were talks about him possibly playing fullback because he's always been kind of a smaller offensive lineman. Even on the Titans roster, he's listed at 6'1", 275, which I'm glad they're finally giving his real height because they always listed him at 6'3" here at Texas State. Yeah, and I'd stand next to him and do an interview, and I'm like, come on. No way. Yeah. If he's 6'3", someone's been lying to me about my height. No, but for him to overcome that that negativity about his size, you know, about people, he's too small, he should play fullback, he's not big enough for offensive lineman. But the fact is the guy played all over the offensive line here at Texas State. Center, tackle, guard, he can play it. It's so versatile. And I knew, looking at him, I'm like, why won't anybody give him a chance? And I was worried about what you said with even if he goes to camp, that it's just going to be a numbers game. And if they don't have the numbers to get him in there, they'll do away with him. And I was thinking in my head, you know, they'll probably look at that. If it's between him and someone else who's bigger, they'll go with that bigger guy. Right. It's not the size of the dog, it's the fight in the dog, you know.
Absolutely.
And Aaron Brewer definitely has a lot of fight in him. Man, a few words. Anytime I try and interview him, I'd be lucky to get a sentence or two. But he was determined, and he was a fiery player. I know he was definitely a guy who finished blocks no matter where he was on that offensive line. So, hats off to Aaron Brewer, no doubt. I'm gonna be rooting for the Titans this year, just only while he's on them though. But. Yeah, I mean, I think that pretty much does it for us.
It does it, man. It does. It's been like I said, I already knew it was going to be an extended episode here. You know what I'm saying? We went longer than we normally do, but man, it's always a pleasure, Shaun. You know, to have you. I think you know you need to start coming on, man, more as a regular with us. And you know, it's always good to have some offense, defense perspective on the same game. And then, of course, Keff is the man with all the knowledge of what's going on that Texas State, you know, football team. So, yeah, man.
Absolutely. And, you know, of course, we got to have Shaun back on some more. And, you know, Shaun, you do a lot of training in Austin and in the Austin area. Do you want to plug that, kind of talk about what you're doing there and how people can get in touch with you if they're trying to get some extra work on the field?
Yeah. So I got my started my own business in 2017. Bet on Yourself Athletics. I mean, I'm pretty much satellite with it, so I travel from Austin to San Antonio. If the price is right, I'll travel to Dallas. But I've been doing that. Have a nonprofit. Run the 7-on-7 team out here called Juice Academy. The nonprofit is called Central Texas Football Academy. So I mean, I do that 25/8.
Absolutely.
And real quick, Shaun, I know it's extended, but real quick, the players, are you coaching or training any players that's on the Texas State team? I know you work with a lot of college football players.
So I've worked with Jerron Morris this past summer. I did some stuff with Torrey. Who else was out there? That's probably the only two on the team. But yeah, so got a
Nice.
ton of guys that's on D1 rosters though.
Nice.
What can you tell us about Jerron and Tori Spears? I mean, you got to know them a little bit. What are they like to train with?
So Jerron is an absolute dog. Like his ball skills are amazing. But he's a gritty guy. He gets after it. He's one of those guys that you were just saying. It's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog. But I mean, you saw last week he played well. He had was it 2 calls fumbles or 1? I know one was on the one was on the goal line. I'm really excited to see Torrey back on the field. I know we were talking about guys who missed because of the COVID testing. Is Torrey going to be back this week?
Yeah, he will. Yep.
Okay. I got Torrey getting at least 5 or 6 interceptions this year. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he got more. He's also a guy that'll come downhill and bang a little bit as well. But really excited to see those guys finish out this year.
Man, you know, Tori Spears, 6'4" at safety. I've never seen a safety that big. I can't believe he was a walk-on at Iowa State. You know, it's good to hear your perspective on him. 5 to 6 interceptions. I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
Let's get it.
Yeah.
Let's get it. Well, that should do it. Unless, Rak, you got anything you want to plug? I know you got like shirt companies and you're doing a lot more.
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of time during the season to plug different my 9-10 businesses that I have.
I've got one business, and it's the Fifth Quarter Podcast, and I can't plug it. You're already listening to it, so you're already doing it right, people. What way to find us. Well, that'll do it for this week, our UTSA edition. Thank you to Shaun Rutherford for joining me and Rak today on this week.
My brother.
His perspective and hear what he has to say about the Bobcats. But thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see how it goes tomorrow for the game.
All right, y'all. Peace.
Absolutely. Later.